making English easy for everyone.
Speak English with Jay and May.
Hey, English learners. Welcome back to Speak English with Jay and May, your cozy little place to build your English confidence. I'm May.
Hello, May, and hello, everyone. I'm Jay. How are you today, May?
I'm great today, Jay. Actually, I'm feeling really excited because today's topic is something every single one of our listeners has felt in their life.
Ooh, really? Now I'm curious. What is it?
Okay, quick question for you. Have you ever studied English grammar for years and then talked to a real foreigner and just froze?
Oh, May, don't call me out like that. Yes, that happened to me so many times.
See, that's exactly it. Today, we're talking about textbook English versus real-life English.
Oh, this is going to be good. I have so many questions already.
I know you do. Stick with me, this one's going to be fun.
Real quick before we jump in, everyone listening, if this podcast is helping your English even a little bit, please hit subscribe, like this episode, and turn on your notifications. It really helps us keep making these every single day for you.
Yes, thank you for that, Jay. And remember, we post a new episode every single day, not just once a week, so there's always something new for you.
Okay, May, so let's start simple. What do you mean by textbook English?
Good question. Textbook English is the English you learn in class. It's clean, it's correct, it's organized. Like, good morning, how are you? I am fine, thank you. And you?
Oh my gosh, I said that exact sentence for years.
Everyone did. It's not wrong, Jay. It's actually a great starting point. But here's the thing. Real people don't talk like that.
Wait, what do you mean? How do real people talk then?
Okay, imagine this. You walk into a coffee shop in London or New York, and the barista says, "Hey, how's it going?"
And I would probably say, I am fine, thank you. And you?
Exactly. And the barista would look at you like, "Who is this polite time traveler?"
Okay, that's actually kind of embarrassing when you say it like that.
It's not embarrassing, it's just different. Real-life English is relaxed. It's short. People say things like, good, not bad, can't complain, or even just hanging in there.
Wait, hanging in there? Like literally hanging from something?
No. It means life is a little hard right now, but I'm okay. It's an idiom.
Oh, you mean like an expression that doesn't mean the actual words.
Exactly, Jay. And this is where textbook English and real-life English really separate.
Okay, this is where things get interesting for me. Give me another example, May.
All right, here's a fun one. In textbooks, you learn, I am very tired. Correct, right?
Right. That sounds correct to me.
But in real life, people say, I'm beat, I'm exhausted, or even, I'm running on empty.
Running on empty. You mean like a car with no gas?
Yes, exactly like that. Your body is the car, and your energy is the gas. When you have no energy left, you say, I'm running on empty.
Okay, that's actually a really cool way to remember it. I like that.
Right? And honestly, this is why so many learners feel frustrated. They study for years, they pass every test, but then they watch a movie or talk to a native speaker and understand like 60%.
Oh my gosh, that's literally my story with English movies. I used to think something was wrong with me.
Nothing is wrong with you, Jay. Nothing is wrong with anyone listening either. The textbook just teaches you the skeleton of the language. Real life gives it skin, personality, and attitude.
That's a great way to put it. But wait, why do schools even teach the formal version if nobody talks like that?
Great question. Because textbooks need rules. They need structure so beginners don't get confused. You have to learn, how are you? I am fine, first, before you can understand that it can shrink down to just, good. You?
Oh, I get it. So it's like building blocks.
Exactly like building blocks. First, you learn the full sentence. Then later, you learn how native speakers naturally cut it shorter and make it casual.
Okay, wait. Here's the interesting part I want to know. What are some other big differences between textbook and real life?
Okay, let's talk about grammar. In textbooks, you learn, I have not eaten breakfast.
Right, that's what I learned too.
In real life, people say, I haven't eaten breakfast. Or even just, haven't eaten yet?
Wait, they just remove words?
Yes, native speakers drop words all the time in casual talk. It's called ellipsis. You don't need every word if the meaning is still clear.
You mean like when I say coming instead of are you coming?
Exactly like that, Jay. You already understand it more than you think.
Wait, really? I do that all the time without even knowing it has a name.
See? This is the secret. A lot of learners already feel real English. They just don't realize it because school taught them to think short is wrong.
Whoa, okay, that's actually kind of relieving to hear.
It should be. Let me give you a story. I remember watching an interview once, and the person said gonna, wanna, and gotta like every single sentence.
Oh yeah, I hear those words everywhere, but no textbook ever really explains them properly.
Right? Gonna is just going to. Wanna is want to. Gotta is got to, which means have to.
Wait, so if someone says, I gotta go, they just mean I have to go?
Exactly. You just learned 3 real English words in 10 seconds. See how easy it can be when it's explained naturally?
This is actually so much easier than I thought.
It really is. I think the biggest problem is that people study English like it's math, rules, formulas, perfect answers.
Right, like there's only one correct way to say something.
Exactly. But English, real English, is more like music. It has rhythm, feeling, and style. Sometimes it breaks its own rules on purpose.
Wait, English breaks its own rules?
All the time. Grammatically, ain't nobody got time for that is completely wrong.
Yeah, my teacher would never accept that sentence.
But native speakers use it, and everyone understands it, and it even became super famous online. Because real language isn't about perfect grammar, it's about clear communication and personality.
Okay, this is where things change for me. I always thought perfect grammar was the goal.
It's a good goal for writing, tests, or formal work. But for daily conversation, confidence and clarity matter more than perfection.
Wait, I want to imagine something. Let's say I'm traveling to Canada and someone asks me for directions. What would that sound like in real life?
Okay, good one. Imagine this scenario, everyone. Someone stops you and says, "Hey, quick question. Is the station this way?"
In textbook English, I would probably answer, yes, the station is located in this direction.
That sounds like a GPS robot, Jay.
I know. So what would a real person say?
Something like, yeah, just keep going straight, then take a left. You can't miss it.
You can't miss it? But what if I do miss it?
It's just an expression. It means the place is very easy to find. So basically, don't worry, you'll see it clearly.
Oh, you mean like reassurance, not a literal promise.
Exactly. This is why real conversations feel confusing at first. Phrases like this carry emotion and tone, not just literal meaning.
Okay, to be honest, This makes me feel a little better about all the times I got confused before.
You should feel better, Jay. Confusion is part of learning. Even native speakers get confused by other accents or slang sometimes.
Wait, really? Even native speakers?
Oh, 100%. A British person and an American person can be confused by each other's slang too. Language is alive. It keeps changing.
That's actually kind of comforting. Okay, give me one more real-life example, something people say every day.
Sure, in a textbook, you learn, I would like to have a cup of coffee, please.
Right, very polite and formal.
In real life, someone just says, can I get a coffee? Or even, coffee, please. And that's completely normal and polite too.
Wait, that's it? Just coffee, please?
Yes, tone and smile do a lot of work in real conversations. You don't need a long, formal sentence to be polite.
Okay, this changes how I think about speaking English completely.
That's the goal today, Jay. I want every listener to relax a little. You don't need perfect textbook sentences to sound confident.
Actually, can I ask something a little personal?
Of course, go ahead.
Do you think textbooks are useless then?
No, not at all. Textbooks build your foundation, your grammar, your vocabulary base. Real-life English builds your flow, your natural rhythm, and your confidence.
Oh, so it's not one or the other, it's both together?
Exactly, Jay. Think of it like learning to cook. The textbook gives you the recipe. Real life teaches you how to actually taste, adjust, and enjoy the meal.
I love that comparison, actually. That makes so much sense.
To be honest, this is something I always tell learners. Don't throw away grammar rules, but don't be scared to sound less perfect either.
I mean, that's honestly really encouraging, because a lot of us are scared of making mistakes.
You know, mistakes are actually proof that you're speaking, not staying silent out of fear. And speaking, even imperfectly, is always better than staying quiet.
Wait, here's the interesting part I want to hear. Are there any real-life phrases that completely confused you personally?
Oh, so many. One time, someone told me it's raining cats and dogs.
Wait, animals were falling from the sky?
That's exactly what I imagined too the first time. It just means it's raining very, very heavily.
Oh my gosh, that's such a strange way to say heavy rain.
English idioms are full of strange images like that. Break a leg means good luck, not actually breaking your leg.
Wait, what? Break a leg means good luck? That is so random.
I know, right? It comes from old theater tradition. Actors believed saying good luck directly was bad luck, so they said the opposite instead.
Wow, English has so much hidden history in these little phrases.
It really does, and that's honestly the fun part of learning real-life English. You're not just learning language, you're learning culture and stories.
Okay, I actually want to ask our listeners something now. What's a real-life English phrase that confused you the most?
Ooh, I love that idea. Let them think about it while we continue.
So, May, if someone is watching this and feeling nervous about real conversations, what's your best advice?
My biggest advice? Listen more than you study. Watch daily conversations, interviews, and vlogs. Notice how people shorten words, use fillers, and react naturally.
Right. Fillers like you know, I mean, things like that.
Exactly. Fillers make you sound human, not robotic. A robot never says, but a real friendly speaker does, all the time.
Wait, so using is actually good?
In natural conversation, yes. It shows you're thinking, and it sounds relaxed instead of rehearsed.
Wow, okay, that's honestly a relief for me. I always felt embarrassed saying too much.
Don't be embarrassed. Even native speakers say constantly. It's part of natural human speech everywhere in the world.
This is where things really change for me, May. I used to think being smooth meant never pausing or hesitating.
Nope. Smooth actually means comfortable, not perfect. Comfortable speakers pause, laugh, correct themselves, and continue naturally.
Okay, one more thing I'm curious about. What about writing? Is that also different from textbook style?
Great question. Even writing changes depending on context. Formal emails still use polite full sentences, but texting friends is way more relaxed, like OMW, BRB, or LOL.
Oh, I actually know those. On my way, be right back, and laugh out loud, right?
Exactly, Jay. See? You already know more real-life English than you think.
Okay, this episode is honestly making me feel a lot more confident already.
That's exactly the goal. I want everyone listening to stop chasing textbook perfect and start enjoying natural, real communication.
So May, quick summary for our listeners. What should they actually do starting today?
Simple. Keep learning grammar, but also watch real conversations. Notice short phrases, idioms, and natural rhythm. And most importantly, don't be afraid to sound imperfect.
I love that. Grammar builds the base, real life builds the confidence.
Exactly, Jay. You explained that better than me, actually.
I learned from the best teacher right here.
Okay, everyone, before we close today, I want you to imagine something. Imagine yourself 6 months from now speaking naturally with a foreigner, laughing, using casual phrases without freezing or panicking.
Ooh, I like that. That feels really possible now, honestly.
It is possible, completely possible. It just takes consistent, relaxed practice, not perfect grammar overnight.
All right, everyone, now it's your turn. Tell us in the comments, what's a real-life English phrase or expression that confused you the most?
Yes, we really want to know. Drop it in the comments below. We might even talk about it in a future episode.
This was such a fun and eye-opening episode, May. Thank you for explaining everything so clearly today.
Thank you, Jay, for asking all the right questions, just like our listeners would.
All right, everyone, that's it for today's episode of Speak English with Jay and May.
Remember, we're here every single day, not just once a week, so come back tomorrow for another episode.
Take care, keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now, English learners.